This is music, and this is a regular Blab-Fest. Welcome to a bit of a Blab-Fest of a video. This is just a mixed bag video. I'll comment on some of the things that have been going on in the vinyl community, and I'll show you some things I've picked up. So mixed bag. The first thing I just briefly want to comment on is the Pantera reunion tour. I think it started now. I'm not sure, but I think it started. But I remember a couple of months back, a lot of people were pissed off that Phil Anselmo and Rex had decided to kind of do a reunion tour and go out on the road and play some Pantera songs along with Charlie Benante and Zakk Wylde. And people were pissed off at that. Personally, I don't see the problem. If Phil Anselmo and Rex want to go on the road with a very, very, very good, excellent drummer like Charlie Benante and a guitarist like Zakk Wylde, whose style is not dissimilar to the style of Dimebag Darrell, I don't see the problem, to be honest. There are lots of people out there, lots of Pantera fans who never got to experience them live back in the day. I'm one of them. I was supposed to have seen them live back in the 90s in the Cowboys from Hell, Far Beyond Driven, Vulgar Display of Power days. But the dickbag who had booked them had booked them to play in a venue that was way too small, so they couldn't fit any of their gear in, so they had to cancel. So there are lots of people out there who would love to just see Pantera songs performed live by the band, and at least now they get the chance to experience them performed live by some of the band members from back in the day, and some, very talented musicians helping out. I don't see the problem there. I think Trevor Hickey did an excellent rant video on this. But to me, the solution is very simple. If you're anti-Pantera reunion tour, just pretend it never happened. And if you're pro-Pantera reunion tour, if you can afford it, if you have the time, go and watch the shows, have a good time. There you go, I've solved it for everyone. Anyways, one thing I want to show that I picked up is Mr. Guitar, Josh Keech's EP Warrior in the Clouds. He released it this year digitally first, and then recently he released this on CDR as well. It's great instrumental metal rock, and if you like stuff like Steve Vai, and if you like stuff like Joe Satriani, things like that, I think this should be right up your alley. One thing I think is really cool is how do-it-yourself it is. He hand-numbered it, and as you can see, it's a CDR with his handwriting on it, and that's just do-it-yourself. And I think this is so cool that it's do-it-yourself. That just ups the coolness factor of this, and it takes me back to the 90s, the underground metal scene where we had to do it ourselves. We just did cassette tapes. So this is really, really cool because of that. I picked up a couple of copies just to support Josh, and because I like the music. Where I think Josh has the upper hand compared to a lot of other guitar heroes is that he's actually focused on songwriting, not just playing as fast as he can. Don't get me wrong, there are some excellent guitar solos on here, but this is all about the songs. They're memorable, they're catchy, they're well composed, and that's why I really like this one. But yeah, if you're into Joey Tarfala, you're Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, all that stuff, pick this one up either digitally, or if you want to be cool, pick up the CDR version. Another member of the VC is Mr. Boulder. His band of Congrete Gods recently released this other type of underground release. It's also an EP. It's an acoustic rock EP. As far as I understand, their drummer had severe health problems, so he couldn't play. I think he's okay now. I hope he is. So they rearranged some of their songs and released this one, and with just guitars and bass and vocals, so the drummer could recover. And this is really good stuff too. This, as far as I understand, they are a kind of alternative rock, metal, hard rock band with a very 90s kind of leaning to them. And this does sound a lot like 90s alternative rock. It kind of takes me back to the MTV Unplugged days, it has to be said that I didn't like MTV Unplugged in general, but there was kind of like a handful of MTV Unplugged shows that were excellent, and this one is kind of reminiscent to that handful. So it's great stuff. Most of the MTV Unplugged to me was kind of like they didn't put a lot of effort into making the acoustic versions of their songs sound interesting, but that's what these guys did. Most of the songs, apart from The Man from Tallahassee, most of the songs sound like they were born acoustic. The Man from Tallahassee, you can hear that one was probably born electrified. It's really heavy, but it's very interesting to hear such a heavy song performed acoustically. It's great stuff. This is the good type of acoustic rock, I think, to me. The vocals are excellent, very emotive, very expressive. The guitar work, excellent. It sounds good. To me, the highlight to me is the bass work. The bass is very central production-wise as well. I don't know if that's intentional, but this is great stuff. If you were around in the 90s, if like me, you have memories of sitting around with your grunge head friends from school, watching the good MTV Unplugged, this will take you back to that experience. If you weren't around back then, didn't have that experience, well, here's your chance to experience it for the first time. So yeah, do check out Of Congrete Gods. Our trauma is not a competition, is what it's called. Check it out. It's great stuff, especially if you like acoustic rock. Okay, so Metallica recently released out of the blue a song called Lux Æterna. It's kind of a precursor to an upcoming album. I've heard the new song a couple of times and I quite like it. I think it's pretty good. I don't think it's great, but I think it's pretty good. The guitar riff, the main guitar riff, kind of takes me back to the Kill 'Em All days. And the drumming, the double bass drum work, very simple daddy, mommy, mommy, daddy work, which is what Lars Ulrich, or Lars Ulrich in Danish, that's what he did back in the Kill 'Em All days. So there's a certain Kill 'Em All feel to it, but I wouldn't consider it a thrash or speed metal song. It's more of a traditional metal song to me. The verse is pretty simple, a couple of chords chugging along, and a very nice vocal melody, and the chorus is just scream along friendly. And it has a very cool Kirk Hammett style Kirk Hammett solo, and I have a weak spot for his solos. So I really enjoyed that solo, but it was very weird to hear Kirk Hammett solo without the wah pedal. So I hope that he's gonna use his wah pedal like a madman on the upcoming album, because to me that's an integral part of a Kirk Hammett solo. So yeah, I think it's a pretty good song. Had it been on Hardwired to Self-Destruct, Hardwired to Self-Destruct to me has a handful of brilliant songs, and then small handful of pretty good songs, and the rest is decent, albeit a bit lackluster. Had Lux Æterna been on that album, it would fall under the pretty good songs category to me. So if the rest of the upcoming album is like Lux Æterna, it's gonna be a pretty good album, and that means I'm probably going to enjoy it. And if it's not obscenely expensive, because I'm kind of tired of that, I will pick it up on CD probably. So yeah, I quite like the new Metallica song. It's not great, I think, but I think it's pretty good. Speaking of Metallica, a couple of months back, a lot of people were pissed off that a Metallica song appeared in an episode of Stranger Things. And I think what people were pissed off at was that it was a Metallica song and not a Slayer song. Some people were pissed off at that. Some other people were pissed off at just the fact that a thrash metal classic made an appearance in a mainstream kind of TV, Netflix kind of show. Trevor Hickey did an awesome rant video on this stuff too. To me, I don't see the point. It's not worth getting angry about. It did garner Metallica renewed attention, and maybe that's what inspired them to do this Lux Æterna song, which is a bit more like old school Metallica, but not all the way there. And maybe the entire album will be like that. Who knows? It has also reeled in some new Metallica fans, and I'm pretty sure that some of those fans have already started exploring thrash metal at large, and they have probably discovered Slayer, Testament, Anthrax, Creator, Death Angel, Darkness, all those other awesome thrash metal bands. And probably they have also explored or discovered some contemporary, newer, younger thrash metal bands, and they're probably supporting them by buying their stuff. And probably some of these new thrash metal fans, they will end up making thrash metal themselves. And I'm sure that a lot of them will explore death metal and speed metal and black metal and traditional metal as well. So I don't see the problem. I'm pretty sure that it has probably helped prolong the lifespan of thrash metal and metal a little bit. I don't see the problem there. This reminds me a bit of I don't know if you guys remember, 7 years ago or something, H&M started selling t-shirts with metal and rock band artwork on them. I remember some Ramones t-shirts, some Iron Maiden t-shirts, some Slayer t-shirts, some Metallica t-shirts, and a lot of people were pissed off at the fact that now non-metalheads could go into an H&M, buy a Metallica t-shirt, wear it in public, never knowing what the hell it is, and if you asked them to mention 5 Metallica songs, they wouldn't be able to do that. And it was part of the entire pop star wearing metal t-shirts trend that was going on, and people were so pissed off at that because they didn't know those metal bands. They were wimps, they were posers. But hey, first of all, those H&M t-shirts were licensed, so the bands, the artists, or the estates would benefit financially from that in some way or another. Secondly, it's exposure. So if you're walking down the street, you see a person wearing a t-shirt, it looks kind of cool, it says Slayer, you don't know what that is, so you're wondering, I wonder what a Slayer is. So you go home, you look it up, you realize, okay, it's a band, let me check it out, and you go, holy shit, that's crazy, that's excellent, that's edgy, Angel of Death, what a crazy song, God Hates Us All, wow, awesome stuff, I'm a Slayer fan now, bang, a Slayer fan is born. I don't see the problem with that, to be perfectly honest. I don't think that's worth getting angry about. Obviously, a lot of this has to do with the gatekeeping in the metal community. But yeah, so the new Metallica song, pretty good. A more recent kind of topic, and I think it was Killing for Company, that channel that started it. Explosive Action has done a response video. Heavy Therapy has done a response video as well. A couple of other channels have done response videos. There's a discussion of whether metalheads can be audiophiles. And to me, I'm sure, if you're a metalhead and you feel you're an audiophile, go ahead, call yourself an audiophile. I have no jurisdiction, I have no power to decide that for you. I think at the end of the day, metalhead and audiophile, no matter how you look at it, they're just labels. But they're labels associated with a constructed identity and with a constructed communities. And both the metalhead and the audiophile communities have some very elitist kind of subsections that practice pretty severe gatekeeping. So in the metal world, of course, it's like, wimps and posers, true metal, and all that stuff. I have to be honest, I'm not interested that much in the whole audiophile thing. I'm just not interested in that, but I've watched a bunch of audiophile YouTube videos, and I've spoken to people that are audiophiles or consider themselves audiophiles. And it seems that you have like 2 major kind of subdivisions in the audiophile community. One that is known as the music first type of audiophile. Now, audiophile, as far as I understand, the sort of core definition is you want the best sound possible on your hi-fi system. But the music first subdivision, to them, they have some music, a genre or some genres of music they like, and then the quest for them is to make that music sound as best as possible on their hi-fi system. And the other subdivision seems to be a sound first kind kind of grouping. So to them, they listen to the sound. They want the perfect sound on their system, and then they pick out music that sounds good with that perfect sound. And as far as I understand, it's in the sound first part of the audiophile community that you find a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of gatekeeping in terms of the equipment, the pricing, the type of equipment, the way you set it up and things like that, but also in terms of the music. Only certain types of music are worthy of being listened to if you are to consider yourself an audiophile, and more noisy and abrasive types of music like metal and punk, and I think like certain types of hip hop as well, and other, pop music that's not abrasive, but that's just pop music. So lots of different types of pop music. If you listen to those, you're not an audiophile. Like you're not an audiophile. You know what I mean? But in the music first perspective, anyone can be an audiophile regardless of what they listen to, insofar as they just aim to get the best listening or best sound possible listening to that music. Now, personally, if you are a metalhead and you feel you're an audiophile, I got your back, but I'm not really interested in the whole audiophile thing, to be honest. To me, I'm a music and listen experience first kind of guy. So it's not just the music, it's not just the sound, it's the experience of listening to an album. And there's some albums where I really appreciate the crackling and the popping, and some albums I really appreciate, like a lo-fi production, like some styles of black metal and more dirty raw metal. So and also the kind of like, being comfortably seated and stuff like that. So I'm not really interested in that whole audiophile thing myself. To me, it's like the best listening experience possible, listening to the music I like. But as I said, if you are a metalhead and you want to be an audiophile too, I got your back. I fully understand. I have no problems with that. None of my business. You know what I mean? Speaking of audiophiles, one thing that really shook the VC, especially the audiophile version of the VC, was the whole MoFi kind of scandal thing. Personally, I'm not really interested in MoFi at all, because I'm not interested in the whole audiophile thing. But as far as I understand, MoFi, I don't have a single MoFi album in my collection. As far as I understand, MoFi, they are a high-end audiophile label that release high-end audiophile pressings on vinyl. I think they do CDs too, but on vinyl of classics. And their brand is that it's all analog. And a lot of audiophiles also, that's part of being, I think, part of the more strict version of being an audiophile. It has to be analog, right? If you like stuff that's not analog, you're not an audiophile. And a lot of those, that type of audiophile, they swore to MoFi because it was, analog first, analog only, and they could hear the difference between a digital and an analog pressing. And then it turns out that MoFi were actually not only analog, there would be digital elements, somewhere in the process, and some of them had like digital sources even. And that exposed a lot of these audiophiles that had kind of positioned themselves within the audiophile community as kind of core members and authorities. And then they were exposed actually as not having the ability to really identify an analogly sourced pressing versus a digitally sourced one. So obviously some people got really pissed off because if it's the case that MoFi really branded themselves as being analog only, that is actually dishonest, that is actually false marketing. So I understand why people got pissed off with that. But I think a lot of other people got pissed off because their positions as, audiophile experts and core members of that community, those positions were threatened for a while. So basically their face was threatened. So personally, I'm not really interested in the whole MoFi scandal thing. I don't even know where it is now, but I actually watched a lot of those videos because it was interesting to observe from the perspective of like social psychology. But I'm sure I've offended a lot of people now just talking about the MoFi scandal, but I thought it was very interesting to observe from that perspective. Another thing that I recently discovered apparently is kind of an issue in the vinyl community, is cleaning your records. Now the vinyl community, the metal part of the vinyl community is people are very friendly, they're very tolerant, but there are other corners of the vinyl community that, again, you have lots of elitism and gatekeeping, and part of the sort of the thing that these VC elitists kind of duke it out over is how to treat your vinyl. Very often people kind of on YouTube, they present things as if there's only one size that fits all, only one correct way to do stuff, right? And that's typically the way they prefer. And I think that's, never listen to those guys. Never listen to those. If anybody says the only way to do something, don't listen to that. Don't listen to the only way part. Still, look at what they do and, maybe consider their advice and then explore other alternatives and find, something that fits you and your collecting. And apparently it seems that how to clean vinyl is one of those kind of points of contention there. Bones of contention, I think it's what it's called, the idiom. But so it seems that there, people duke it out over how to clean your vinyl. Now, sure, there are some ways to clean your vinyl that are not good for your vinyl, but there are lots of different ways to clean your vinyl that are good, and they're equally good. And people seem to be battling over which one is the best way to do it. And very often, especially if it's like people trying to sell you some, vinyl cleaning material, you have to be extra, skeptical towards those. But at the end of the day, it's your collection. You can clean your vinyl however you want to. I've come to kind of a routine that I like, where I give all the vinyl I buy, be it new vinyl, be it secondhand, be it vinyl that I know has already been cleaned by the seller. I like giving it a deep clean as one of the first things I do before I sort of integrate it into my collection. And I like starting with a dry clean. So I have a couple of different types of vinyl brushes that I use to clean the surface and to get into the grooves and get all the dust out. And then after that, I do a wet clean. And I don't have an ultrasonic record cleaner. I don't have room for that in the place we live in. I do it manually because I actually like the experience of hands-on and cleaning the record manually. So I have I don't have a spin cleaner, or is it called spin care or whatever it's called, but I have some similar very simple technology that I use to clean my records wet, hands-on, and it serves my purpose very well. I like the experience of cleaning the records, the hands-on experience. They sound good to me when I play them. So that's the way I do it, and I'm sure that there's a million elitist VC people out there, just wanting to jump at the chance of bashing me for doing that. But that's the way I do it, and that fits me. And if there's another way to clean your records that suits you, I think that's the way to go. I think it's very weird with these communities, all this elitism and gatekeeping, and one size fits all, and the only way to do stuff that's going on. I think that's probably why I'll never be a core member of any type of community like that, because I don't buy into all that one size fits all. To me, it's always you do you, and that's the end of the story. You know what I mean? So I think that's interesting. There's something similar going on with video making I've discovered lately in the vinyl community, that there's some people that seem to have like a template for how you have to make a vinyl community video, how you have to show the records, you have to talk about them in a special way, and blah blah blah. But I mean, one thing I really like about watching vinyl community videos is all the different styles you have. You got some really high production value kind of channels, and then you have some, you know, just press the record button and here we fucking go channels. And, you know, somewhere in between, and you have people that like showing their face on camera. You have people that don't do that. You have people experimenting with different, you know, camera angles. I've watched a couple of channels now where a good handful of channels where the hosts kind of keep talking about their videos being bad and things like that. But I mean, again, you do you. I really like the variety of different ways to do vinyl community videos. Some people stream stuff. Some people just flip through things they've bought and show a lot of stuff. Other people show a handful of things and go in depth, and they do. Some people do, reviews. Some people do vinyl shopping videos, and I think they're all great. And some are long form and some are short form. And again, I think they all have their pros. So. I mean, I'm in no position to give any advice about anything because I've just said that you do you, right? But I do think that find a video style you're comfortable with, and I think experimenting is fine. And then just let it rip and do the types of videos that you like doing. I'll be there watching for sure. Anyways, that was a bit of a Blab-Fest, but. Yeah, if you're still here, thanks for watching. If you disagree with anything I said, feel free to let your opinion out there. Do a response video, comment, whatever. If you agree as well, get your opinion out there. It's part of what I like about being part of the metal corner of the vinyl community. It's the back and forth, the interaction, the new perspectives. Again, that's why I like all the variety, because I get new perspectives and I learn new things all the time. Anyways, yeah, there you go. Pick up Josh Keech's EP if you like instrumental metal. Pick up of Congrete Gods EP if you like acoustic rock music. And then you do you. Thanks for watching.